Good morning. A little bit of technical uncertainty that we were able to work our way through with the help of, you should call that your lifeline. So we sent being a part of this morning's service. We'll begin with the reading of Sambujo and Just Sacred. So we begin this morning's service. I'm sorry, I always forget to check to make sure that our sound is correct. Oh, you know what? I think only Lisa can change that. Normally, we're in original sound off. And unless you turn original sound on, when we do okyo and ring, like when we do the bell, it's too loud or the pitches are not in the normal Zoom recording range. So it has a tendency to clip these sounds. And my chanting also, or whoever is chanting, the chanting will also be clipped. So we'll try and do it in any way. In any case, please join in the reading of Jusei.
와곤 조생난 예시머저로 신나흐만소 세이프조쇼나 오무려보 이날세셔 버사이쇼빙의 세이프조쇼나 나시조부zu모 여셔초지포 극혐미션 세이프조쇼나 이여그진쇼네 저에셔봉교 징음저도 이쇼텐님시 진리기엔나이코 버쇼무사이노 조조성구묘 버사이슈야구나 하이히지엥엔 메시코모안 대성쇼아군도 서나츠젠쇼모 고소조만소 이여로제포 내징아츠슈저기 땡콩분에 이슈카이호소 고세꾸무호 조다이슈저 샘모시시무 어여이사이무스 너소 自jomat Koku isanai o Yom tsumye chi Sana tsumi pasho Nana kwa eri Oshi sai shoson Shinanya oka Daisen no kando Koku shoten Koku chimyo
If you please join now in Gasho and let's do golden chain together. We've done golden chain a long time. Okay? I am a link in Amida's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I will keep my link bright and strong. I will be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will think pure and beautiful thoughts, say pure and beautiful words, and do pure and beautiful deeds. May every link in Amida's golden chain of love be bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Again, thank you for joining us for this morning service here from the Morgan Hill Dharma Center, Sangha Hall, Howakai, many different names, but Buddhist. And as we think about the future of Morgan Hill, I hope that we'll be able to continue to invite people to be a part of the Sangha here, invite friends and neighbors to come and join us on Sunday mornings. As I drove up this morning to the building, to the temple, there are hundreds of people across the street People parked in the streets to find, because the parking lots are full, and so they're parking on the streets to get to attend these events that are taking place across the street. There was a section that was specially designated for referees. So the referees need to have their parking spaces reserved so that they can be a part of all the activities that are going on across the street. So it certainly isn't because the population of Morgan Hill is disappearing. There are lots of people in Morgan Hill, and people are moving into this area and maybe causing problems for the local community with traffic increasing and the public kind of services being burdened because of the increase in population. So it's not a population issue that we need to work with. We need to think about what might we do to help people know that we're here in Morgan Hill, that we are a Buddhist center, that we meet regularly, and that this temple is a part of a national organization that has temples scattered throughout the United States, from New York to here in San Jose. We have temples all over the place. The other day, for our Obon service, we had Reverend Hayashi as our Zoom guest speaker for our Obon service at the Beijing. And he's from Ekoji. Ekoji is in Virginia, and he was able to join us through Zoom and be a part of our Obon service. So we have temples all over the place. Most of our temples are here, of course, on the West Coast, from Washington, where we were for 7 years before coming to San Jose. We were in a little town of Auburn, outside of Seattle, between Seattle and Tacoma. A small community, but a very old community. And in the history of that community, there were early Issei who came to that community to farm. It was kind of interesting history there too, because when there was the Asian Exclusion Act, people couldn't come into the United States, and Seattle was a port of entry, and they couldn't come into the United States. So what they did was they arrived in Vancouver and then came across the border illegally. We hear nowadays about illegal immigration, and our focus is on our southern border, and we think, oh, these terrible people are coming across our border. But from very long time ago, our community, members of our community actually entered crossing the US-Canadian border, entering into the United States illegally, establishing families, establishing communities. And eventually, when those immigration laws were changed, they went back into Canada and came across legally. So this kind of concern that we have about illegal immigration, or immigration being a threat to our communities, that's crazy. We are all part of that immigration. Unless we're native people, unless we're part of the first people, we are descendants of immigrants who came here from other parts of the world. The Buddhist Churches of America, from Washington, down through Oregon and into California, all the way to the southern border down in San Diego, which is, you can see Mexico from the San Diego Buddhist temple. And then, inland into the Central Valley, and then up to into the Reno area, Idaho, Boise, Idaho. Actually, it's the Ontario, Idaho Buddhist temple. So just outside of Boise, there's a temple, the Oregon, Idaho Buddhist temple. And then you go further east to Salt Lake Buddhist temple, and Denver Buddhist temple. In Salt Lake, where Ohata Sensei was, before he went to Stockton, and then from Stockton he came to San Jose. But he was, Ohata Sensei was in that Salt Lake area for many years. Currently, Hirano Sensei, some of you may remember Hirano Sensei. His first assignment, Reverend Hirano, was here in San Jose for several years before going back actually to his home in Salt Lake City, where he grew up. And he's been there ever since as a resident minister. And his wife, Carmela Hirano, is a minister and serves as an assistant minister there with him in the Salt Lake. Salt Lake has several temples that they have to supervise. Much like here in the south and the Coast District temples that we were a part of, Watsonville, Monterey, and Salinas. These three temples have only one resident minister, and that resident minister is assigned to supervise Watsonville and Salinas. And so Shinseki Sensei, who was assigned to the Monterey Buddhist Temple, and has to oversee these two other temples and coordinate with them all the activities that we kind of observe in our own temple. And he has to look out, care for all of these two other temples and all of the services, not just the things like the major services like Okigan or Obon service, but also for all of the memorial services and funerals and all of those things that normally occur in a temple, that whether you have a resident minister or not, that take place and that need to be taken care of. Shinseki Sensei is responsible for those three temples. So the Buddhist Church of America, from Salt Lake City, we continue to head east, Denver, Colorado, Arizona, Chicago, many temples. So when people think about the Morgan Hill Buddhist Temple, you might think about, just this little community place that has occasional festivals, but this Howakai is a part of a national organization that stretches from New York all the way across the nation here to the West Coast. Part of a very large organization. And this organization is part of a much larger world organization. We're one district outside of Japan. These districts, we're the Buddhist Church of America, North American Kyodan. There is a Hawaii Kyodan. They have maybe as many temples in Hawaii as we do nationally in North America. There are many temples, a very large population of Buddhists, Jodo Shinshu Buddhists in Hawaii. Well, Hawaii is another district, Canada is another district. And then these districts connect back to Kyoto, where our main home temple is located. The Hongranji is the center of Jodo Shinshu, where the Monshu lives. So when we think of Morgan Hill, we're maybe physically, we're not that big, maybe in terms of our membership, maybe not that many people, certainly not as many as we used to have, but the Morgan Hill Buddhist Temple is a part of this large organization that has for 850 years, has a history of 850 years. And Morgan Hill is a part of that. And so when people come to visit, we should let them know that we have been a part of world religion for a very long time. And that what our tradition is about, of Jodo Shinshu, what Jodo Shinshu is about, is the same concern that all Buddhism has. How do we resolve the difficulties that we cause and experience? It's a simple question that Shakyamuni Buddha started with, and you have to think about and practice and try to understand what its causes are and how we might be able to be free of those difficulties. And what Shakyamuni Buddha discovered was that our difficulties are not because of something that's happening outside, not because of that person that's over there, or because that event is happening over there, which we tend to do. We think, oh, if they would only change what they're doing, then I would be happier. We look at our neighbor, maybe, and our neighbor is loud. Or like for us at our house, I like to barbecue, and I haven't done so for quite a while because one of our neighbors got upset with me. I was making too much smoke, smoky barbecue. So I kind of got into an arrangement with him that I would let them know when I was intending to smoke some meat in the backyard. And so we would do that. But since then, which is now 3 years ago, when I was actually using charcoal and sticks to barbecue. And barbecue is different from grilling. So in barbecue, you low heat, and you use very slow. It takes a lot of time. And so while the meat is barbecuing, your heat has to be controlled, but that's a whole nother area of interest. But so I was annoying my neighbor, and my neighbor just kind of really nicely let me know what was happening, and so I was able to kind of respond to it. Since then, I've started using a pellet smoker, which produces a lot less smoke initially. With charcoal, you've got to kind of start it up, and it throws up plumes of smoke. And on that particular, I saw it too. I thought, oh my, it's going to be a real problem. And so I stopped using charcoal in that way. And now I have a pellet smoker and pellet grill. But our neighbors, right? Our response to our neighbors, is it our neighbor who is the problem? If I thought, oh, that neighbor shouldn't be, it's only once in a while, why are you getting so upset about that? But it's what I'm doing that is causing this problem. So I need to adjust on what I'm doing. So Shakyamuni Buddha, figured this out. He said, it's not out there. We have to become aware of how we see the world. And when we are able to think about the world in that way, we recognize that we divide the world up into things I like, what I don't like, what I want, what I don't want, and people as well. Right? And we kind of divide things up. And as we do that, it offers opportunities for difficulties to arise. So my next door neighbor, I could think of it, he's complaining And so, well, whatever, and then keep doing this thing that I've been doing. And it would not be able to resolve, but rather than think of simply what he's doing, which is letting me know that this is causing a problem for them. I look at my own behavior and then begin to adjust how I respond to what I'm doing. Shakyamuni Buddha, it doesn't make, it's just basic, right? It doesn't make me an enlightened person. It's just basic kind of how we resolve, how we address the difficulties that we cause and experience. Shakyamuni Buddha said, it's not just in those things, but it's in how we see the world, how we value the world, how we think about the world. And we prefer things that we like, and we hold those things close to us. And so the second out of Four Noble Truths, which is tanha, is translated as blind desires, that I don't understand or really reasonably think about what I like and what I want to hold to my close to me, what I want to keep. That blindness prevents us from beginning to address the difficulties that we experience and that we cause. So the third of the Four Noble Truths, Shakyamuni Buddha says, and we don't have to remain like that. We can resolve these difficulties, but we have to cultivate a mind that sees things as they are. Cultivate a mind through the Eightfold Path, and that's what the Eightfold Path is. Begin to see things as they are. Begin to see our own imperfections, and that's where Shinran's teachings are so central. That for Shinran, he was able to recognize his own imperfections, his own limitations, his own foolishness, and that's why he called himself Gotoku Shinran, the short-haired fool, right? A person who is constantly engaged in stirring things up or causing problems for himself and for others. But recognizing that, he was able to respond. Right? But he also knew that no matter how much I make adjustments to my behavior, there is always something else that will come along. But he also understood that regardless of my abilities or skills, what I'm able to do to cultivate that mind that sees things as they are. And I may have some success, but I will kind of fall back. And this is kind of what he discovered on Hieizan while he was studying as a priest, as a monk on Hieizan. That no matter how much he worked at cultivating this mind that sees things as they are, he recognized in himself that he was always short of that, completing that process of cultivating that mind. And so he went to go study with Honen. He kind of was guided to, he left Hieizan. And under Honen, what he was taught, and what Honen was sharing, was that even if we are unable to cultivate the mind that sees things as they are, Amida Buddha affirms us in all our imperfections, in all of our limitations, in all of our foolishness. Amida Buddha assures us as we are of the resolution of difficulties. So it comes right back to that first of the Four Noble Truths. Right? How do we resolve these difficulties? In Jobo Shinshu, we understand the limitations of our own skills and abilities, and at the same time, we acknowledge the vow of Amida Buddha, that provides for the enlightenment of all beings. So I'm already assured of that. Sometimes, it becomes a problem when we think of Buddhism that, oh, I'm already assured of enlightenment. I don't have to worry about anything. I can go do whatever I want to do. And that's true. That's true. Even, I think in the Tanisho, Shinran Yuen kind of remembers the words of Shinran, who says, a person, a good person is able to enter pure man. How much more so the evil person? The person least capable of attaining enlightenment is the focus of compassion. If I was able to cultivate the mind that sees things as they are, I don't need any help, right? But the person who's least capable of doing that, that person needs help. So rather than say, oh, you're a bad person, you're no good, you set them aside, that person is the one that really needs the help. And the assurance of Amida Buddha allows us to see ourselves, not as a good person or bad person, but begin to see ourselves as we are. And beginning to see ourselves as we are is that awakening. We're beginning to acknowledge the importance of the vow of the Buddha that assures me as I am. And that gratitude that arises out of that assurance, understanding, recognizing the importance of that assurance that moves me toward the resolution of difficulties. I'm deeply grateful for that assurance. As we think about how we might be able to share this with other people, we say, well, it's too complicated, too hard. But Buddhism is really very simple. It's about how do we resolve the difficulties we cause and experience. And Buddhism says that happens because of the way that we look at the world. We look at the world through our preferences, what I like, what I don't like. And that's normal, that's everyday life. You're not going to like things you don't like. Doesn't make any sense. We like the things we like, we don't like the things we don't like. And that's everyday kind of thing. And Buddhism is saying, take a look at that. What results from that? Even my barbecuing, I'm beginning to understand, and I should know this from a long time ago, that I'm causing problems for the environment with my barbecuing. Not just the smoke, right? But when I go buy a chunk of meat, where does that meat come from? Right? Not only is the animal harm in my preferences for eating, I'm not going to be able to eat barbecue anymore. when I think about it in this way, right? This was part of a life being at one point. Oh, it's getting harder to think about me barbecuing. And I was going to get some cheesesteak sandwiches this evening. Okay, so not only does this come from a living being, right, that was slaughtered in order for me to smoke this piece of meat. But as I support that, as I purchase products from this process, I am contributing to the degradation of the environment. We know that raising animals causes tremendous, particularly cattle, has tremendous impact, negative impact on the environment. If I would, think about it seriously, and Kathy, encourages me to eat vegetables, And I am actually trying to, not trying, because she prepares something, and so I eat them. And it's very good. So I don't kind of think I have to barbecue something every other week. And then with my neighbors are concerned, I'm also wanting to respect that and not be sending clouds of smoke in, which also contributes to the degradation of the environment. Wow, I'm doing all kinds of things that are terrible for the environment. So it's good that I'm cutting back, right? And it would be better if I understood that more deeply and that I responded because I was concerned rather than because of the concern that was expressed to me. So, we're engaged in these kinds of things all the time. It is nothing special. It doesn't require anything more than an understanding that Buddhism is about resolving difficulties. And that these difficulties result from my preferences, my prejudices. That as I can begin to acknowledge that, begin to recognize and see that, if I am working towards the resolution of difficulties, that can be a means to which understanding my relationship with the world around me can begin to move me towards an understanding or means through which I might begin to address some of these issues. Yeah, Buddhism is simple. And we should invite people to come and be a part of this understanding. Now, we have seen the world of being a part of the humanity, that surrounds us, that we are all a part of. Here at this Morgan Hill Sangha, we have had a long history, and that history is deeply connected to a much larger organization, a much larger group of people. And we all sharing the teachings of the Buddha that has had also a very long history. Last week was Old One. We remembered those who have lived before us, how much our lives are the result of what they have done for us. And if we extend that, we can extend back to Shinran and further back to Shakyamuni Buddha and all of the experiences that helped us to be where we are today. Thank you very much for being a part of this morning's service. Julie Watanabe is our technical person. If you have any issues, call her. She's right over there. It is always wonderful to be able to join you. I want to be sure that we continue to share the Dharma, share the teachings as we continue to enjoy the teachings. Again, thank you very much, everyone. As we close, will you please join the show? Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you very much, everyone. The Bitsing will continue its 10 o'clock services. Hopefully next month is August, maybe I think it's the 22nd or the third weekend maybe of August. We'll try to we'll decide whether or not we'll have another service here in Morgan Hill, and hopefully we'll be able to continue this as we continue under this pandemic. I love the acoustics in here this morning. There's no chairs because they're refinishing the floor, and so it's kind of like boomy in here. I hope it's not affecting the recording. But in any case, thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you next time.